You're in a crowded cafe, reaching for your phone, when your hand catches the edge of your mug. Hot coffee goes everywhere. Instantly, your stomach drops. Your heart rate spikes, heat rushes to your cheeks, and your breathing gets shallow. In that exact second, you feel a heavy, blinding glare lock onto you. You possess an absolute, terrifying certainty that every single person in the room has stopped what they're doing, turned, and is silently judging your clumsiness. You might even assume they can read the exact level of panic written across your face. Psychologists call this the illusion of transparency, the false belief that our internal emotions are broadcasting on a loudspeaker for strangers to read. But here is the reality of that cafe. The hypervisibility you feel is an intense inflation of the truth. It is a documented cognitive glitch known as the spotlight effect. We navigate our daily lives acting as if we are the star of a movie playing to a packed house, when the reality is that the vast majority of the audience isn't looking at the screen. To understand why our brains betray us like this, we have to look at an evolutionary cognitive mechanism called anchoring. Because we are the center of our own universe, our personal experiences are incredibly loud. When we feel a sudden burst of embarrassment, our brain uses that high-definition internal feeling as a baseline, or an anchor, to gauge reality. We try to temper that anchor when guessing what other people notice, but we fail to adjust it enough. We mistakenly assume observers are perceiving our actions with the exact same burning intensity that we feel internally. In the late 1990s, Thomas Gilovich and a team of researchers at Cornell University designed an experiment to explicitly test and measure this specific bias in a social setting. They forced college students to walk into a room of their peers wearing a loudly uncool, deeply embarrassing t-shirt featuring the singer Barry Manilow. Driven by their own acute embarrassment, the students made internal predictions about the room's reaction. They were convinced that over half the room would notice the shirt and judge them for it. This chart shows the stark difference between those anxious predictions and the hard data. While the students guessed 50%, barely 25% of the room even registered the shirt. The empirical evidence proves that while some people may notice us, we drastically overestimate our own salience in the minds of others. Which raises a logical follow-up question. If 3/4 of the crowd isn't staring at your coffee spill or your embarrassing shirt, what exactly are they doing? Let's shift the narrative perspective away from the anxious protagonist and look at the environment from the point of view of the surrounding crowd. Every single person you perceive as a harsh judge is actually trapped underneath their own imaginary spotlight. The woman at the corner table is agonizing over an awkward text message she just sent. The man by the window is worrying about his own outfit. They are mentally replaying their own minor mistakes. The courtroom of public opinion is empty because the jury is entirely preoccupied with putting themselves on trial. Simply knowing about the spotlight effect is helpful, but intellectual understanding alone doesn't stop the immediate physical rush of panic. To break the urge to flee or hide, what psychologists call the avoidance trap, we need an active tool. You can use a real-time cognitive intervention technique called the SPOT framework, which stands for stop, perspective shift, observe, and test. The next time panic hits, instead of turning inward to monitor your racing heart, actively look outward at the crowd. Scan the room to physically observe the indifference of the strangers around you. Finding proof that people are simply scrolling on their phones or staring into space overrides the egocentric bias. Actively observing their distractions scientifically grounds your nervous system, pulls you out of your head, and breaks the cycle of social avoidance. Hearing that most people aren't paying attention to you can sound a little depressing at first, but a closer look reveals that it is actually a deeply liberating truth. Because our flaws are not fluorescent, and our mistakes are often forgotten in minutes, we are shielded by the beautiful indifference of strangers. The blinding, all-seeing spotlight we imagine is actually much dimmer and more distracted than we realize. Understanding that leaves you completely free to exist authentically, make mistakes, and navigate the world with a sense of quiet privacy.